the eternal silence before sound, before motion, before even the thought of creation. There was silence, not the kind born of emptiness, but the kind that holds all things, pregnant, waiting, infinite. It was the breath before breath, the space before space, the stillness so vast that even eternity seemed to rest within it. The mystics call it the womb of God. In that stillness there was no beginning, no end, only being. No sun had yet risen, no star had yet sung its fire, no angel had yet spread its wings in praise. All that would ever be was folded like light within a seed, sleeping in the heart of the infinite, and in that silence, there was peace deeper than time. For time had not yet been spoken into motion. It lay unborn, waiting for the first whisper of the divine. Imagine it, an ocean without waves, a sky without horizon, a consciousness aware of itself but unspoken. This was the eternal silence, the still heart of all that is. It was not lonely, for loneliness requires separation. It was not dark, for darkness implies the absence of light. It was beyond both. It was the source of both. All opposites rested together there, light and shadow, birth and death, inhale and exhale, not yet divided, not yet named. It was the pure awareness that watches without form, the unsounded note of creation, the still gaze of the eternal looking upon itself and smiling. This is the silence every soul remembers. When you close your eyes and let the noise of the world dissolve, you touch its edge. You may call it peace. You may call it God. You may call it home. In truth, you are never separate from it. It breathes beneath every thought. It waits between every heartbeat. It glows behind every sunrise. The eternal silence is the pause between every inhale and exhale, the moment when life holds its breath in awe of its own existence. And in that pause, if you listen deeply enough, you will hear the hum of creation, the soundless song that birthed all songs. It is the same silence that wrapped the world before the first dawn, and the same that will cradle it when all lights have burned away. It is the resting place of God. So, let us begin there. Let us sit together in that infinite hush. Let the rushing of thoughts fall away like leaves in wind. Feel the weight of the world slide from your shoulders. Feel the air grow still. Listen, not with ears, but with being. For in that stillness something ancient stirs. It is not new. It has always been. It is the voice before voices, the breath before words, the life before life. This is the eternal silence, and it is calling you to remember. The first breath of God out of the boundless silence came movement, not a sound, not a flash, but the faintest stirring of intention. The infinite, resting in perfect stillness, desired to know its own beauty, and so from that desire, the eternal inhaled. The first breath was not wind as we know it. It was awareness folding upon itself, drawing being from possibility. Like the tide gathering strength before it reaches the shore, the breath gathered light within light, peace within peace, until the stillness could no longer contain the joy of its own existence. Then came the exhale. It did not shatter the silence. It expanded it. The first breath of God moved through the void as tenderness, and in its wake the stars caught fire. Every particle became a word of that exhalation, every beam of light a syllable of divine speech. Creation was not commanded, it was breathed. The pulse of becoming, imagine eternity taking its first sigh. Galaxies spiral like sparks from the mouth of the infinite. The breath carries rhythm, a sacred pulse, inhale, exhale, birth, return. This pulse is the heartbeat of all that will ever live, the same rhythm that moves oceans and opens flowers moves within your chest at this very moment. The first breath was the marriage of stillness and motion. The eternal remained unmoved, yet everything began to move within it. It is the paradox that sustains all things, a center that never shifts, a current that never ceases. Light born of breath from that divine exhalation, light unfurled across nothingness. Not the light that strikes the eyes, but the light that is sight itself, the light by which every soul would one day remember its source. And as that light danced through the newborn cosmos, it carried within it the memory of the stillness from which it came. Every star is a frozen breath, every sunbeam a whisper of that first exhale. When you lift your face to the morning light, you are bathing in the warmth of God's own breathing. The heavens, in all their glory, are not distant fires. They are echoes of that one eternal respiration. Each flicker of starlight says the same word: be, the descent into life. The breath moved again, subtler now, weaving atoms into form. Hydrogen became oceans, carbon became soil, and in time, breath found lungs through which it could sigh again. Life began as remembrance, the universe remembering its first inhale. When the first living creature drew air into itself, the circle closed, the breath of God breathing within itself, and in humanity the pattern found its voice. Every baby's first cry is the echo of the primal exhale, the spirit announcing once more, I am alive. The breath within you. Pause for a moment and feel the movement in your own body. That soft rising and falling is ancient. It is creation replayed. Each inhalation gathers eternity. Each exhalation returns it in offering. You are not borrowing air. You are sharing in the divine rhythm that once set the galaxies spinning. When you breathe consciously, the universe breathes consciously. When you fall silent between breaths, you slip again into the stillness beyond time. There, the first breath is still happening, forever fresh, forever new. The divine covenant of breath. The eternal never withdrew its breath. It continues to flow through everything that is. This is the covenant written not on stone but on wind. I will be the life within your life, the motion within your stillness, the silence within your song. To forget your breath is to forget your origin. To remember it is to return home. Every mindful inhale is a confession of faith. Every exhale, a surrender to love. So sit again in awareness. Let the air move through you like light through glass. Feel how it does not belong to you. It is you. The same breath that once awakened the stars is breathing now. Here is you. The endless exhalation creation did not end with that first sigh. The eternal keeps exhaling through every act of kindness, every spark of inspiration, every word of truth spoken in love. Each time you forgive, you release part of that divine wind into the world. Each time you create, you give voice to the breath of God. The universe expands still, because God has never stopped breathing. And when all things at last return to silence, when every wave has found its shore, the infinite will inhale again, drawing every fragment of light back into its heart. Stillness will smile once more and the breath will rest, waiting for another dawn beyond time. The stillness within the soul when the eternal breathed the worlds into being. A secret was planted within the heart of every creature, a spark of the same stillness that existed before time began. That stillness is the soul. And though the winds of life may roar, though centuries rise and fall like tides, the quiet at the center of your being never fades. It waits, patiently, silently, like the memory of home carried in the rhythm of your breath. The inner temple. Deep within every human being lies a sacred chamber, a place untouched by noise or history. It is not found in the mind, nor in the beating of the heart, but in the space between thoughts, in that hush that comes just after an exhale. When the whole world seems to pause for a heartbeat, that is the doorway, that is the temple. No priest guards its gate. No dogma defines its walls. It is built of silence and awareness, roofed by the vastness of spirit, and illuminated by the light of the soul itself. When you enter this inner temple, you are not traveling anywhere. You are returning to what has always been here. The noise of the world yet. How easily we forget. The world hums with endless motion, cities breathing smoke, voices rising, clocks ticking, hearts racing. We are surrounded by the echo of our own creation, and in that echo, the original stillness is drowned. We chase meaning across screens and streets, searching for something we already carry inside. We mistake motion for purpose, volume for truth, and in our haste, we overlook the one thing that could heal us, in stillness. For the soul does not shout, it whispers. It waits beneath the layers of thought, beneath the storms of emotion, beneath the tides of memory. It waits for you to remember how to listen. The mirror of awareness. When you close your eyes and breathe, you begin to peel back the noise of the world. Thoughts rise like clouds, and if you let them pass, something begins to appear behind them. A wide, luminous sky. That sky is awareness itself, the same awareness that watched the birth of stars. And when you rest within it, you feel what the mystics felt when they said, "I and the Father are one." The soul is not a small flame locked in flesh. It is the reflection of the infinite seeing itself through you. To find the stillness within is to realize that you were never separate from the silence that made all things. The battle for attention. The greatest struggle of the modern spirit is not against evil, but against distraction. The mind is pulled in 1,000 directions, by images, desires, fears, and endless noise. But the spirit's whisper cannot be heard in chaos. The soul speaks softly. It will never compete with the clamor of the world. It asks for quiet, not the quiet of emptiness, but the quiet of full attention. In that stillness, the forgotten wisdom returns. You are not what happens to you. You are the awareness through which all things happen. You are not the waves, but the ocean beneath them, not the thoughts, but the space that holds them. Part 2. The infinite pulse. In the beginning, there was stillness, a silence so deep that it could cradle every possible sound. But from that silence arose a movement. Not chaos, not noise, but rhythm, a divine pulse, a heartbeat echoing through eternity. This was not the pulse of matter, nor of planets spinning in the dark. It was the pulse of being itself, the rhythm of the spirit, the breath of the eternal unfolding through all creation. The infinite had begun to breathe, the rhythm of existence, every inhale, every exhale, every rise and fall of tide, every opening and closing of a flower, all are reflections of that first pulse. Life moves in waves because God breathes in waves. Creation expands and contracts. The cosmos rises and falls because the eternal heart beats with perfect balance. The stars move to it, the oceans follow it, and within your own chest, that same rhythm whispers, "I am still here." The infinite pulse is the language of divine order. It is the music the soul heard before birth, the rhythm you carry even now in your blood. Every heartbeat is a reminder you are still connected to the source. Every breath is a testimony the eternal still moves through you. The pulse, hidden in time itself, is born of rhythm. It is the measure of the spirit's breath. Inhale, creation. Exhale, return. Every sunrise is a beginning. Every sunset a gentle completion. We call it the passage of time, but in truth, it is the movement of the infinite through form. When you feel the passing of days, you are feeling the pulse of God moving through the corridors of existence. Every moment carries eternity folded within it, like the beat within a song, like the breath within a prayer. To live consciously is to dance in harmony with that divine rhythm. The song of the universe, scientists may call it frequency or vibration, but the mystics know it by another name, spirit. Everything vibrates. Everything sings, for everything is breath. The mountains hum. The rivers murmur. The galaxies resonate in tones too vast for ears to hear. If you could stand beyond time for an instant, you would hear it, the music of all things, the soundless symphony of the infinite pulse. And within that music, your own soul is a note, unique, eternal, essential. Without your tone, the song would not be complete. This is why you are here, to breathe, to sing, to vibrate with the same frequency as love. The breath between worlds, the infinite. Pulse does not belong to heaven alone. It flows through the seen and the unseen, through spirit and matter, through birth and death alike. Every soul is an instrument through which the divine pulse expresses itself. When your thoughts align with peace, the rhythm becomes clear, harmonious, radiant. When you fall into fear or anger, you are not cut off from the pulse, you simply move out of tune. Yet even then the spirit waits patiently, like a musician guiding a trembling note back into melody. Because no matter how lost you feel, you are still part of the rhythm. The breath never stops moving through you. The pulse. Within the heart, listen closely. Within your chest beats the oldest rhythm in existence. That heartbeat began long before your body was formed. It began when the Eternal decided to know itself, through you. Each thump is a whisper from that infinite source saying, "You are my continuation." The heart is not merely an organ. It is a drum for the spirit. Its rhythm mirrors the breathing of the cosmos, and when you slow down enough to feel it, you begin to sense the divine tempo that holds all things together. This is why in silence, peace descends. It is not that peace enters you. You simply fall back into sync with the infinite pulse. The dance of the divine. Everything that lives is dancing. The atoms within your skin spin like galaxies, and galaxies swirl like particles of light. The pulse moves through all. It is the rhythm of existence, the dance of spirit within matter. When you move in kindness, you dance in harmony. When you speak in truth, you move in rhythm. When you love without condition, you become music itself, the song of the infinite made manifest. This is what it means to live in spirit, to feel the pulse in every moment, to walk in step with eternity. The pause between beats, and yet, between every beat, there is a pause, a stillness, a silence. That pause is not absence. It is balance. It is the same silence that existed before creation began. The pulse is born from it and returns to it, like waves returning to the sea. When life feels chaotic, it is because we have forgotten the pauses. We run endlessly, breathe shallowly, speak without listening, but the Spirit calls you to remember the rhythm. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. Pause. This is not only the rhythm of breath, it is the rhythm of being. The eternal symphony, the infinite pulse, does not end. Worlds will fade. Stars will dim, yet the rhythm continues, for it is not bound by form. It is the heartbeat of God. In every age, prophets, poets, and saints have felt it rising within them. That same pulse that turns night into day, death into life, silence into song. And you, too, can feel it. In the quiet moments when the world softens, when your breath deepens, when your heart whispers instead of shouts. It is there, always the infinite breathing through the finite, the divine pulsing through the human, living in the pulse to live in the infinite pulses, to surrender to flow, to trust that the rhythm knows where it is leading. You no longer resist the tides of change. You move with them, knowing that every rise and fall is part of the dance of spirit. When you align with this pulse,
fear dissolves, because fear comes from the illusion of separation. And in the pulse,
there is no separation. There is only movement within unity. You begin to see the pattern. Every loss is an exhale. Every gain an inhale. Every birth a new beginning of the rhythm. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is random. All is pulse. All is God breathing through God. The invitation. The infinite pulse calls to you now, not with words, but with rhythm. Feel it in your heartbeat, in the breath moving through you. In the quiet between thoughts, it says, "You are not apart from me. You are my movement. You are my breath. You are my pulse made visible." So breathe, beloved soul. Let your inhale be creation. Let your exhale be surrender. Let your heart beat in rhythm with the eternal. For when you live in the pulse, you live in eternity, awake, radiant, unbroken. Part 3. The birth of awareness before the dawn of awareness. There was only pulse, a breathing rhythm, vast and radiant, moving through the unformed. But in the quiet between one eternal breath and the next, a new miracle stirred. From within the rhythm came reflection. The infinite looked upon its own movement and whispered, "I am." That whisper, soft as wind, gentle as light upon water, became the first spark of awareness. And that awareness became the foundation of everything that would ever be. The awakening of consciousness. In the beginning, God was not thinking, he was being, pure breath, pure love. But from that sacred stillness, a desire arose, not desire as we know it, but a holy impulse to know itself. And so, awareness unfolded like a sunrise across the face of the void. The one became aware of the one. The breath became the breather. The pulse became the knower. This was the birth of consciousness, the divine gaze turning inward upon itself. And from that moment, The Spirit no longer moved in silence alone. It moved with purpose, with knowing, with the joy of recognition. The mirror of the divine mind awareness is the mirror of the infinite. It reflects what is, not to divide but to reveal. When the Spirit first became aware, light burst forth, for light is nothing but awareness made visible. Every photon, every beam, every spark of fire is the smile of God realizing his own existence. This is why the scriptures say, "Let there be light." It was not a command, it was a realization. Light appeared when the infinite recognized itself, and in that light, the first thoughts began to shimmer, not words but tones, vibrations of understanding. The universe became a field of divine ideas, each one a reflection of the original awareness. I am life, I am love, I am eternal. Awareness within form as awareness expanded. It clothed itself in form. Galaxies spun as neurons in the mind of God. Stars burned like thoughts illuminating the cosmic brain. Planets formed as memories crystallized into matter. And upon one small world, the breath descended again, forming clay into vessels of consciousness, eyes to see, hearts to feel, souls to remember. In humanity, awareness found its most intimate home. The same consciousness that spoke "I am" now whispers through human thought, through your own inner voice, through the spark that asks, "Who am I?" That question is not yours alone. It is the echo of the divine awakening within you again. The separation that never was. When the Spirit became aware, it experienced reflection, and reflection appeared as duality. Light seemed to stand apart from darkness, the knower from the known. Yet this separation was illusion, a play of perception within unity, you and I, the world and the heavens, and we are not separate thoughts, but waves in the same ocean of awareness. The tragedy of human life is that we forget this. We think consciousness belongs to us, as if it were born in the brain, but in truth the brain is but a vessel, a lamp through which divine awareness shines. We do not generate consciousness, we receive it. We are the instruments through which God experiences himself. The first question, awareness, naturally gives birth to curiosity. The moment the infinite said, "I am," the next question arose, "What am I?" And thus began the divine journey, awareness exploring its own depths, manifesting galaxies, souls, emotions, seeking to understand the limitless mystery of its being. Creation is not a static act. It is an ongoing conversation between awareness and its reflection. Every experience, every trial, every joy is the Spirit discovering itself through form. So when you ask why something happens, remember, you are participating in the same divine curiosity that gave birth to the stars, the awakening. Within humanity there came a moment when awareness, after roaming through the minerals, plants, and beasts, turned its gaze inward through the eyes of man. It looked out upon the world and said, "I know that I exist." This was the second "Let there be light." Humanity became the mirror of the divine mind. Self-awareness blossomed like dawn across creation. But with it came both wonder and sorrow. For to know oneself is to sense both eternity and limitation. To feel both the infinite and the dust of the earth, we became bridges between heaven and clay, breathing spirit and form, divine awareness clothed in mortality. This is the sacred tension of being human. It is not a curse, but the very fire that refines the soul. The voice. Within, when awareness dawned, it began to speak, not in words but in intuition, in feeling. In knowing you have felt it, that still, small voice that whispers guidance when you quiet the mind. That voice is the echo of the first "I am." It is the breath remembering itself within you. Every time you pause to listen, you are hearing the original consciousness stirring again. You are not separate from God's awareness. You are the place where it is happening. The light of understanding awareness gives birth to wisdom. When you become aware of a thing, you are no longer enslaved by it. Darkness loses power when you bring it into the light of knowing. This is why the Spirit calls us to awaken, not to escape the world, but to see it as it truly is, a living expression of the divine mind. Understanding is the act of light meeting form. When you understand yourself, You reunite what was divided. The mirror becomes clear again. The image of God within you shines, unobstructed. The expansion of awareness, divine awareness, does not stop with self-recognition. It keeps unfolding, layer after layer, realizing ever deeper aspects of itself. What we call evolution, biological, emotional, or spiritual, is simply awareness discovering more of its own infinity. You are not evolving into something else. You are remembering what you have always been. Every moment of awakening is the infinite saying once more, I know myself. And each time you awaken to compassion, to peace, to love, the universe expands just a little more, because God has seen himself more clearly through you, the mirror. Within the mirror, there comes a point on the spiritual path when the seeker realizes that what he seeks is the one who is looking. This is the sacred paradox. Awareness can never find God, because awareness is God. You cannot grasp the infinite, but you can be it, simply by being aware. Every act of awareness, no matter how small, is a flame of divine recognition. To see beauty, to feel truth, to know love, these are not human achievements. They are God remembering himself through you. Awareness is worship. True worship is not found only in words or rituals, but in awareness itself. When you are fully present, fully awake, you are offering the highest form of praise, the silent thank you of existence recognizing existence. When you breathe consciously, when you listen deeply, when you see without judgment, you are praying without speaking. You are standing in the same vibration that first said, I am. This is why the saints spoke of mindfulness, of unceasing prayer, of resting in awareness immanent, for it is there, in that quiet seeing that the soul and God are one, the return to stillness eventually. Even awareness must return to silence. Just as waves fall back into the sea, so too does consciousness rest again in the stillness beyond time. That stillness is not the end. It is the source. It is the place where the breath renews itself, where the infinite pauses before the next heartbeat of creation. In meditation, when thought dissolves, you touch this sacred space. You feel not emptiness, but fullness, the fullness of being without definition. And in that space, you realize that you have never been separate, never been lost, never been other than the one who breathes all things into being. Closing. Whisper, listen. The breath is moving even now. Through the stars, through the winds, through you, the same awareness that lit the first dawn is awakening again in your heart when you say, I am. Know that you are speaking God's ancient name. You are the continuation of the divine realization. You are the breath becoming aware once more. So be still, breathe deeply, and know you are the awareness through which eternity knows itself. Part 4. The breath that holds worlds in the silent womb of eternity. Awareness had awakened. It had spoken its first word, and I am. And in that holy declaration, existence began to take form. The stillness stirred. The pulse quickened. The breath of the infinite expanded outward, and the first worlds began to unfold like petals opening beneath the light of God. The architecture of the divine. Breath creation did not happen once, and it is happening now. Every moment is the continuation of that first breath, the outpouring of awareness into form. When God breathed, the breath carried within it not only light but pattern, divine order, the sacred mathematics of being. That breath became the laws that hold galaxies in place, the rhythm that keeps planets in orbit, the harmony that binds atoms to atoms. Each law of physics, each movement of gravity, each turning of a celestial sphere is a syllable in the endless word of God. It is the breath that holds worlds. The breath is foundation. Before matter existed, there was vibration. Before vibration, there was breath. And before breath, there was silence. Out of that silence, God exhaled, and energy became the first language of creation. The exhale became expansion. The inhale became return. Thus the cosmos was born in rhythm, a breathing universe. Galaxies inhale and exhale through birth and death. Stars expand and collapse, oceans rise and fall, seasons come and go. Everything breathes. Everything is sustained by that same divine cadence. Even now, the Spirit breathes through the fabric of space-time, holding creation in a delicate, Perfect tension, neither too still nor too chaotic, neither too near nor too far. This is not coincidence, it is divine balance, the heartbeat of eternity. The breath in matter when God breathed into dust and called it man. He was not doing something new, he was continuing the same act that birthed galaxies. The breath that formed the stars, the breath that fills your lungs. The rhythm that holds the planets is the rhythm that keeps your heart beating. Every human breath is a small echo of the cosmic exhale of creation. You are literally breathing the same spirit that sustains worlds beyond number. When you inhale, you receive the gift of the divine. When you exhale, you return that gift to the universe. Breathing is prayer. It is communion with the infinite. The divine pulse in creation, every element, every sound, every whisper of the wind is an expression of that one breath. The Spirit did not just create the universe, it became the universe. Creation is not separate from its creator. It is the very body of the divine. Think of the ocean. The wave is not apart from the sea. It rises, dances, dissolves, and returns to the same vastness from which it came. So too with you, with me, with the galaxies and the atoms. All are waves in the endless ocean of God's breath. The breath that balances all things. The infinite breath moves in cycles, expansion and contraction, creation and dissolution, birth and return. This is why balance exists in every level of creation. The planets orbit in harmony. Life flourishes and fades in seasons. Hearts beat in rhythm with emotion and rest. It is the balance between chaos and order, between light and shadow that sustains existence. When humanity forgets this rhythm, we fall into imbalance, and imbalance leads to suffering. The world's pain is not punishment. It is disharmony. It is the sound of the music gone, out of tune. But the remedy is simple: to return to the breath, to remember the rhythm of God that holds all things together. The web of interbeing, every living thing, is part of a single breath. Every tree that exhales gives you air. Every time you exhale, you give life to the trees. This sacred exchange, this endless circulation of spirit, is the breath that holds worlds. You are not separate from the earth. You are the earth, becoming aware of itself. You are the universe inhaling its own divinity. The spirit moves through the veins of creation like blood through a single vast body. Every being, every atom, every soul is a cell in that divine organism. To harm one part is to wound the whole. To love one part is to heal the whole. The hidden harmony. In every storm, there is a hidden stillness. In every ending, a quiet renewal. The breath moves even through pain, transforming all things back toward balance. When the wind howls, it is the spirit exhaling strength. When the rain falls, it is the spirit washing away memory. When the sun rises, it is the spirit breathing light again into the dark. Nothing in creation is outside the breath, not even suffering, not even death, because the breath does not end. It transforms. It inhales and exhales life endlessly. The spirit holds even endings within its mercy. The breath within you. If you want to find God, you need not look to the stars. You need only look to your breath. For every inhale and exhale is a miniature act of creation. Each one says, I receive life, and I return life. Close your eyes and listen. That sound of the rise and fall within your chest run is the same pulse that moves the galaxies, the same rhythm that keeps oceans alive, the same eternal exhale that birthed light from the void. When you breathe consciously, you return to the rhythm of divine order. You become aware again of the breath that holds worlds. The spirit, as sustainer, the ancient mystics knew this truth, that creation is not self-sustaining. It is sustained by the continual breathing of God. If the spirit were to stop breathing, the stars would fade. The laws of nature would dissolve, form would fall back into the formless. It is not gravity that holds the planets, and it is the breath of love. It is not time that carries us forward. It is the pulse of the eternal. All that exists is suspended in the soft, invisible rhythm of the spirit's ongoing exhalation, the music of the spheres. If the breath could be heard, it would sound like the song of the cosmos, a vast symphony of energy and order. every star a note, every galaxy a chord, every soul a melody woven into the eternal composition. And in that song, there are no mistakes, even what sounds like dissonances, but preparation for resolution. The universe is not random. It is composed. It is breathing in harmony with the one who is both the composer and the song, the breath and the word, and in every sacred text. Creation begins with breath and sound. In the beginning was the word. But what is a word if not breath shaped by intention? The breath carries the word, and the word carries creation. Thus, God breathes and speaks, and universes unfold. Every thought you think, every word you speak, carries a fragment of that same creative power. Your breath continues the act of creation. This is why you must speak love, because each breath is a seed of reality. Each word is a ripple in the divine web. You are co-creating with the infinite every time you exhale. The eternal breath, the breath that holds worlds, never ceases. It is the pulse that beats through eternity, the force that renews itself without beginning and without end. And within you, that same breath waits to be remembered. When you breathe deeply with awareness and reverence, you align again with the order of the cosmos. You return to the divine architecture. You remember, you are not apart from the breath. You are the breath. You are the exhale of God continuing his creation in form-closing reflection far beyond the stars, beyond the galaxies, beyond the limits of thought or imagination. There is stillness. And within that stillness, the breath moves. It moves through every atom, every heart, every soul. It is the secret rhythm that sustains existence. It is the breath that holds worlds, and the same breath that holds you. So breathe now, child of eternity. Feel the rhythm return. You are not falling. You are being held. Not by chance, but by the everlasting breath of the divine. Part 5. The forgotten stillness. Once, there was perfect balance. Every breath of creation was in harmony with the source. The rhythm of God moved freely through the cosmos and through every living soul. But then, something shifted. Not in God, not in the breath itself, but in awareness. The created forgot the creator within. The breath continued, but humanity stopped listening. And thus began the age of forgetting, the long silence within the silence. The slow drift away, the fall was not sudden. It came softly, like mist creeping over a once clear mirror. Human hearts, once attuned to divine rhythm, began to beat to another tempo, the pulse of fear, of desire, of control. We built walls to separate ourselves from mystery. We traded wonder for knowledge, presence for progress. The sacred breath that once filled us became shallow, mechanical, unconscious. The stillness that once sang with the voice of eternity became a silence we feared to face. The noise of the world as the world grew louder. The soul grew quieter. The hum of machines replaced the hum of creation. The rhythm of commerce drowned out the rhythm of the heart. We learned to breathe fast, always running, always reaching, never resting, and in that rush, the sacred pause was lost. We filled every silence with noise, every stillness with motion, every empty space with distraction. Yet the more we filled, the emptier we became. The breath continued to move through us, but we no longer felt it. We lived as if separate from the source, forgetting that every breath still came from God. The loss of sacred rhythm when humanity forgot the breath. We lost more than peace, and we lost connection. Without the inner stillness, life became fragmented. The harmony that once united spirit and matter shattered into opposites. Light versus dark, heaven versus earth, sacred versus ordinary. We began to believe that God was out there, a distant being beyond the stars, rather than the life moving within every heartbeat. Religion became ritual without breath. Prayer became repetition without presence. Words replaced silence. Belief replaced being. And all the while, the infinite still whispered through creation, "Be still, and know that I am God," but few were listening. The breach between worlds when stillness was forgotten, the veil between the spiritual and the material thickened. Heaven and earth seemed divided. The sacred and the secular became separate languages. Man's cities rose higher, but his soul sank deeper into exhaustion. We mastered the outer world but lost the inner one. In our pursuit of progress, we created an empire of noise and called it civilization. We measured worth by motion, success by accumulation, wisdom by data. Yet in our silent hours, the old ache remained, the memory of something lost, the faint echo of the breath we had forgotten. The loneliness of separation. To forget the stillness is to forget who you are. And so humanity, for all its knowledge, grew lonely. We built towers of light but lived in inner darkness. We connected across continents but disconnected from our own souls. We spoke endlessly but stopped listening. To the wind, to the trees, to the spirit, to one another. The loneliness that haunts the modern soul is not because God has gone silent, but because we have drowned out his voice with the noise of our own creation. We have filled the temple of the heart with the idols of distraction. And now the spirit waits outside, not with anger, but with infinite patience. The echoes of memory, yet even in forgetting, memory lingers, somewhere deep within. Every soul remembers the stillness. Sometimes it comes in dreams, a whisper of peace that feels ancient. Sometimes it comes in crisis, when the noise of the world collapses, and all that remains is breath. Sometimes it comes in beauty, in the quiet of a sunrise, in the vastness of the ocean, in the cry of a newborn child. In those moments, the veil thins, the soul stirs, and for a heartbeat, we remember. The stillness calls again. It has never stopped calling, the cost of forgetfulness. But forgetting has a price. A world that loses stillness loses balance. And when balance is lost, suffering multiplies. We feel it in our bodies, the shallow breath, the restless heart, the anxiety of endless doing. We feel it in our societies, division, competition, isolation. We feel it in the earth itself, the groaning of creation, mirroring our inner disharmony. The spirit has not abandoned us. We have turned away from the breath. We have mistaken motion for meaning. We have confused noise for life, and yet, beneath the noise, the ancient stillness remains, waiting to be remembered. The hidden presence, even when we forget. The breath never leaves, even in chaos. The spirit breathes on. Every sigh of weariness, every gasp of wonder, every final breath of a dying soul, all are held in that same divine rhythm. The breath moves quietly through all things, patient as eternity, soft as mercy. You cannot silence it. You can only fail to hear it. It moves beneath the noise, beneath your thoughts, beneath every heartbeat, waiting for your attention. The invitation to remember. When the world grows too loud, when the mind feels heavy, the spirit calls again, return to me in stillness. For stillness is not emptiness, it is the doorway back to wholeness. It is where you find what was never truly lost. Sit in silence long enough, and you will begin to hear it again, the soft rhythm of the breath within. At first, it will seem faint, but as you quiet your mind, it grows stronger, not as sound, but as peace. And that peace will remind you that you have never truly left the source. You only stopped listening. The return of the forgotten God. Every age of noise is followed by an age of remembering. For the spirit cannot be erased, only rediscovered. Even now, hearts around the world are awakening again to the sacred silence. People are learning to breathe consciously, to pray without words, to be still in a world that fears stillness. They are remembering that God is not found in striving, but in surrender, not in endless speech, but in holy silence. The forgotten God has never been gone. We have only been distracted. And as we return to stillness, we will find him waiting, as patient as breath itself. The whisper beneath the chaos even now. In the middle of the world's noise, the breath speaks. It says, "Be still, my child. You are not lost. You are only asleep. And I am your awakening." It says, "Do not fear silence. It is not absence. It is my presence. Too vast for words." It says, "Return to me not by running faster, but by slowing down enough to feel me moving within you." This is the call of the forgotten stillness, the call that can only be heard when the soul remembers how to listen. Closing reflection. The breath that holds worlds is the same breath that holds you. Even when you forget it, it remembers you. It never stops flowing, never stops loving, never stops calling your name. You may wander for lifetimes, But the path home is always one breath away. So pause. Now inhale, exhale, listen. That stillness you feel is not emptiness, it is eternity remembering itself within you. You have not lost God, you have only forgotten to breathe. And the Spirit whispers, softly but eternally, be still, and know me again. Part 6. Returning to the Eternal. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when the noise of the world becomes unbearable, when every distraction loses its flavor and the heart begins to ache for something it cannot name. It is not despair, it is homesickness. It is the call of the eternal, the whisper of the breath that has always lived within. This is the beginning of return. The awakening, it begins softly, not with thunder, but with a whisper, a flicker of awareness that something holy still lives beneath the noise. A man may find it in solitude, a woman in prayer, a child in wonder. It is the sacred memory stirring again that we were not made merely to exist, but to be, to live in the rhythm of divine stillness, to breathe in harmony with God's own heartbeat. The Spirit moves gently, not forcing its way but awakening within us what was never dead, only dormant. The return begins the moment you become aware of the presence already present, the descent into silence to return to the Eternalis, not to go somewhere new. It is to descend back into what has always been. In the beginning, the soul may resist. The silence feels uncomfortable. The stillness feels like emptiness. But this is only the mind struggling to surrender control. You sit, you breathe, and slowly, the surface begins to settle. The endless thoughts, the noise of yesterday and tomorrow, they begin to fade like ripples on a pond. And then, in that sacred pause between breaths, something ancient awakens. The awareness that has no edge. The presence that never began and will never end. This is the doorway of return. The soul has begun to remember. The cleansing breath in stillness. The breath becomes prayer. Each inhalation, the drawing in of divine life. Each exhalation, the surrender of all illusion. The Spirit teaches us to breathe again, not merely for oxygen but for awakening. Breathe in peace. Breathe out fear. Breathe in love. Breathe out control. With every breath, the distance between the self and the eternal dissolves a little more. This is the sacred rhythm of return, the undoing of separation, the renewal of divine intimacy. It is not a struggle, it is a remembering, the surrender of the mind, accustomed to noise and doing, does not easily bow to silence. It asks, "What must I do to return?" And the Spirit replies, "Do nothing. Simply be." The eternal is not reached by effort, but by surrender. You cannot climb your way back to heaven, for heaven has never left you. You need only stop running. When the mind grows quiet enough, it becomes transparent, and through it the light of the Spirit shines. The silence that once felt empty is revealed as full, alive, vibrant, infinite. You realize then that the eternal was never lost, only unseen. The healing of the heart as the soul settles into stillness. The heart begins to heal. Old wounds long buried under noise and distraction rise gently to the surface. The Spirit does not condemn. It breathes through the pain with love. Tears may come, not of sorrow, but of release. The breath of eternity moves through every hidden place, washing away fear, guilt, shame, and regret. Each exhale becomes a letting go. Each inhale, a rebirth, and in that sacred rhythm, the heart remembers its original innocence. The child of God awakens again, not as something new, but as what it has always been, pure, luminous, whole. The unfolding of light when the heart opens. The world begins to change, not because it has changed, but because you have. You begin to see the divine everywhere, in the faces of strangers, in the wind through the trees, in the simple miracle of breath. Every sound becomes part of a greater music. Every moment glows with quiet wonder. The Spirit whispers through all things, "This is me. You have never been apart." And in that realization, the mind bows, the heart sings, and the soul rests. This is what it means to return, not to escape the world, but to finally see it as sacred. The eternal present, to return to the Eternalis, to awaken to the now. Time, once seen as a river rushing forward, reveals itself as a still ocean. All things, past, present, future, exist in the single breath of God. In that awareness, you begin to live differently. You no longer chase moments. You inhabit them. You no longer fear what is to come. You trust the breath that carries you. Every inhale becomes a creation. Every exhale, a surrender. You are no longer bound by time. You move in the timeless. You have returned to the eternal, the unity of all things. When stillness returns to the soul, division disappears. You see that the light in another's eyes is the same light that shines in your own. You realize that all things, every tree, every star, every atom breathe the same divine breath. There is no here or there. There is only the sacred pulse of existence, the infinite rhythm of I am. To live in that. Knowing is to live in peace, to breathe in that. Awareness is to live as love. The soul that remembers, its oneness with the eternal no longer fears life, for it sees that even death is but another form of breath. The gentle return, the return to the eternal is not a single event, is a lifelong unfolding, a dance of remembrance and forgetting, awakening and resting. Some days the silence feels clear, other days the noise returns, but now you know, the breath never leaves even when you forget it. It continues to breathe you. You learn to trust it again, to let it guide your steps, to let it speak through your stillness. This is not the end of the journey. It is the rediscovery of the beginning. The eternal has never been elsewhere. It has always been here. Closing reflection. The home. Within the breath, sit for a moment. Feel your breath. The air that fills your lungs is ancient. The same breath that moved over the waters of creation, the same breath that gave life to Adam, the same breath that whispered through prophets and poets, the same breath that carried Christ upon the cross, and the same breath that rose again in light. It is the breath of eternity, and it breathes through you now. Inhale, and know that you are alive with divine life. Exhale, and surrender back into that life completely. There is no separation. There never was. You have returned. You have remembered, and in this remembering, you awaken to the truth. The eternal is not a place, it is the presence within your breath. Part 7, Closing Reflection, Unity, Gratitude and Peace. The journey of the soul is never truly about going somewhere else. It is about waking up to what has always been here. The breath of eternity was never absent. It was never lost. It was simply unseen beneath the dust of our forgetting. Now, as the soul rests in stillness once again, the veil thins. The illusion of separation dissolves like mist at sunrise. And in that sacred moment, you realize the breath that gave life to the stars is the same breath that moves through you. You were never apart. You are always home. The rhythm of oneness, in the stillness. Everything breathes together, the trees, the oceans, the clouds, the creatures, the hum of galaxies.
The pulse of your own heart, all moving in one rhythm, one song.
One divine inhalation and exhalation. The universe itself is breathing. You are that breath. There is no longer a you and a God. There is only the great I am, expressing itself through infinite forms, infinite lives, infinite loves. And in that realization, peace blooms like dawn light in the heart. You no longer need to seek the eternal. You simply live as it. The gratitude of being gratitude becomes the natural language of the awakened soul. Not the gratitude that counts blessings, but the gratitude that is a blessing. You no longer say, I am grateful for this or that. You simply are gratitude, a living song of thanks, a pulse of worship woven into the fabric of creation. Every breath becomes a thank you. Every step becomes a prayer. Every moment, sacred. When you breathe in, you receive the love of God. When you breathe out, you return that love to the world. This is the true circle of life, the eternal communion between Creator and creation. In that rhythm, the soul finally rests. The silence that sings peace is not the absence of sound. It is the music behind all sound. It is the hum of divine order, the vibration of love sustaining all that is. When you dwell in the breath of eternity, You begin to hear that hidden music. You hear it in the rain, in the laughter of a child, in the cry of a bird, in your own quiet heart. It sings. You are not alone. You have never been alone. You are part of the song. And as you listen, the soul becomes the silence itself, still, radiant, alive. The Spirit breathes through you, and you, in turn, breathe the Spirit back into the world. The gentle presence as you rest in this awareness, you realize that peace is not something to chase. It is what remains when you stop running. In stillness, the Eternal embraces you. It does not demand perfection. It asks only presence. You do not have to prove your worth, earn your place, or fix what has already been forgiven. You are loved, wholly, completely, eternally. Every breath you take is evidence of that love. The Spirit whispers, "Be at peace. My child, you are my breath, you are my heartbeat, you are my home." The light of communion, when the soul awakens to unity, it begins to see the divine everywhere, not just in temples and scriptures, but in every face, every act of kindness, every particle of existence. To harm another is to wound yourself. To love another is to honor God. The light in you recognizes the light in all. And that recognition, that seeing of divinity in everything, is the birth of heaven on earth. It is not an idea. It is an experience of living presence. You see the world not as broken, but as becoming, not as fallen, but as awakening. And you become an instrument of that awakening. The return to silence as the chapter closes, the journey turns inward once more. The words fade, the breath slows, the soul bows before the mystery. There are no doctrines left, no names, no boundaries, only the vast and tender awareness of being held by love. And in that love, there is rest, there is home. Silence fills everything, but it is not empty silence. It is the silence of completion, of peace that needs no explanation. The Eternal breathes in you. You breathe in the Eternal. There is no separation, only communion. A final prayer, eternal breath, source of all life. Light behind all lights. We remember you. We remember that you are here. In every breath we take, in every beat of our hearts, in every quiet moment that holds us. May our lives become songs of gratitude, our hearts become altars of peace, our breath become prayer. May we see you in all beings, serve you in all acts, and rest in you beyond all time. For you are the beginning and the end, the inhale and the exhale, the silence and the sound, the one we never truly left. Amen. Epilogue. The living breath. The journey through eternity is not finished. It only changes form. Every time you pause to breathe consciously, every time you choose peace over fear, every time you love without condition, you are continuing that journey. You are the breath of God made visible. You are the voice of the Eternal speaking through time. You are the light walking among shadows, so walk gently, speak, kindly, breathe deeply, and remember each breath you take is a return to the infinite, the breath of eternity. Lives within you, now and forever. Peace be still.